Fill anytime. Okay.
Someone's so hot, motherfucker's gonna find. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna find.
What if this is just the start of the show? Honestly, I don't think that's a bad idea. Also, how motherfuckers gonna find?
That wouldn't be the worst idea in the world, I suppose.
No, I don't think so.
Hello!
So, if we do decide to do this and not cut this out, we might actually have to cut a lot of things out. We'll see how awful we are.
Yeah.
But, this is the inaugural episode of the Andy and Spenny Show About Sports, mostly. Maybe we'll sing. We've been doing some singing during the setup of the show quite a bit. So
just a little bit.
We'll have to do a little bit of that, too. But basically, the premise of the show is most days, I think, we'll be talking about sports, probably.
Yeah.
It's something, we've been friends for a long time. It's something we're both very passionate about. And, I've really wanted to get into something where I can talk about sports, use it as a creative outlet, and, have fun doing it. So that is what we're going to do. That's going to be the start. That's going to be what this show is going to be all about.
Oh, man. I'm stoked.
I look forward to sharing it with the viewers. I have a lot of ideas how I could really make this show fun and engaging for the audience on the on the video side of things, and it's gonna be really fun. But if we're gonna get started off, I just want to ask you, Spenny, about how the summer league's been. I went to your game where you guys went. I went to the last game you guys played where it didn't end so well.
Yeah.
I brought my camera. I filmed it. I thought there'd be a lot of good footage to make a cool video. But I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
It was kind of. I don't want to make something that depressing.
Yeah. So for context, I play in a beer league, over the summer with a bunch of guys. Andy does video for us sometimes. He's
head coach.
Head coach.
Media manager / head coach. Get your facts right.
Honestly, okay, yeah. So triple jobs: videographer, coach, manager, cheerleader.
Yeah.
You're our number one fan.
All those things. I pull a lot of weight within that organization. I'm also the owner. I also had my bid denied by the Ottawa Senators.
Oh man, you and Ryan Reynolds.
You
both.
Me and Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, I was actually.
We are no longer interested in.
I was actually in the bid with the Weeknd and Snoop Dogg, but Karen.
Oh man. So with our league, we just play out of the Winnipeg Jets practice hockey complex.
Mm-hmm. The Hockey for Everyone Center.
Hockey for All Center.
Hockey for All, yeah.
And we're not very good. We try. We have a lot of fun. We have a blast. The gang it's like absolutely made of glue.
Yeah.
I love going to every single game.
It is a really exceptionally great group of guys for sure.
I agree. But we have found that this league that we've joined this summer is way harder than we thought it would be.
I almost was like talking about with some of the guys on the team before. One of the parties we go to, he was almost saying, our friend Peter, he was saying he was kind of expecting things to be easier because he really wanted me to join the team. Like, it's going to be easier. You'll be able to get your foot in the door. Okay, that needs more context. I am a very bad skater, and I like hockey, but I'm scared to play because I'm probably really bad.
But you can do that through the legs. Hit the roof.
Yeah, I got weirdly good hands and a weirdly good shot, but anything with my feet is pretty bad. But he was like really trying to motivate me to play, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't because I'd be getting embarrassed.
Mm-hmm. So with how the league is going, we found that there's way more Junior B players on the bottom teams than we ever expected because we were playing in the second from the bottom division, Division 9, and there's 11 divisions. Now there's 13. They just made a 13th division because they were feeling pity for us and a couple other teams. They decided to make another division, but in Div 9, which at the time was the second from the bottom, we were finding most teams had about 3 Junior B players.
Oh my god.
And
how many in Winter League at Dakota League where you guys played before in Division 11 or 12?
Most teams had none.
Most teams had none, okay.
The occasional really good team would have one. So these really bad teams are kicking our ass because they're all stacked. The thing at Summer League, and this league in particular, is really heavily diluted at the top with all these really, really good guys who are just in their off season and they have nothing better to do.
Exactly. Oh,
so,
I'm sure
you
that's
know,
what it is.
Division 1 is, I'm sure, significantly better than it normally is, and same with Div 2, 3, 4, 5, and they just push everyone down.
Yeah.
So our Div 9 is playing more like, a few divisions up from where it actually is. And when we were in Dakota, a overall lesser league, we were playing out of Div 10. So, we've moved up in a harder league in general while it's diluted. So,
I mean, I'd say on the really bright side, when you guys come around for winter next year, you're going to be used to playing like this really, really tough competition. I think you guys could move back up a division next year in the winter. If you play a whole summer against teams that are this much better, it'll make you guys better.
I actually completely agree. I think
that is the positive way to look at it.
Yeah, this is really just a matter of kind of going for a jog with a weighted vest on. Waiting to go for the jog with the normal clothing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, maybe this summer you'll get through with Kyle leaving the team. Maybe you'll have to be the enforcer.
I don't think that'll necessarily be me. I tend to play a pretty chippy game, but I don't throw fists. But
you're like that. You're like the accidental enforcer.
I'm the accidental enforcer. I piss a lot of people off.
You just play really hard, and then you accidentally bump somebody, and they think you're intentionally body checking them, but you're just trying to get the puck.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then somebody gets mad.
Yeah.
That's what and weirdly enough, in my time watching beer league as much as I have over the last year, people get mad very often. It's very alarming.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
There was one team that we played, I think it was our 4th game this year, where everyone was looking for a fight.
Yeah.
Maybe a small handful of guys weren't. And it felt like
crazy.
you can't do anything without pissing these guys off and asking for a fight. Holy crap, I just want to play some hockey and go home.
I know, it's like it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like you're in Division 12, you're like 35 years old, and you want to try to fight some 20-year-old because they back-checked or something. It's like, I just don't get it at all.
Yeah.
But I guess, hockey is a competitive sport which breeds competition, and I guess that kind of stuff happens. But I just think, you should be able to tone it back a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, this isn't, we're not playing against Vegas. We don't need to worry about, getting slashed in the wrists, but,
speaking of Vegas, speaking of the playoffs, speaking of, the hockey that was just going on, and now NHL hockey just ended.
Look at that segue.
The Vegas Golden Knights are Stanley Cup champions, and just what have you thought about how that series played out, and are you disappointed that the series is so short?
I was expecting the series to go at least to 6, if not probably to 7. Something was just telling me this will be a long series, but no, I guess not. Because Vegas, I know, is a really strong defensive team, but Bobrovsky was on fire before the series started.
God,
so coming in, I was like, okay.
Against Carolina, was he like a .970 save percentage or something stupid like that?
So I'm thinking, okay, this will probably be 2 teams that just can't score on each other. And it'll be really low scoring and it'll go forever. Maybe we'll have one of those triple overtime games like the Carolina, where they essentially played like 2 and a bit games.
That was crazy. That was one of the craziest games in the playoffs I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. So seeing that it ended in 5 games and Florida only won once was a little disappointing, I'd say. I wanted more hockey.
Whenever I watch the finals, and it's not my team that's in it, which it obviously never is. We're both Jets fans. They've never been in the finals.
Yeah.
But my priority is always seeing a long series. That's really all I want to see, like good hockey in a long series. And there seems like there's so many finals where it just fizzles out.
Yeah.
I guess it's hard. There's so many teams that it takes so much for them just to get to the final that when there's a team that's just even like 25% better, they just steamroll them, because getting to the final was all a team like Florida had to give, or much like Montreal in 2021.
Yeah.
They got to the final and they got steamrolled because getting to the final took so much out of them.
Yeah.
That's all they had to give.
They got there from a hot goaltender who cooled off in the finals. They had Eric Stahl on their team.
And Mark.
Well, no, did they have Mark in Montreal?
Montreal? Oh, no,
Yeah.
not Montreal.
Montreal had Eric Stahl.
Yeah, Montreal.
And then
right.
Florida had Eric
And then,
Stahl
yeah,
with a hot goalie who cooled off in the finals.
I don't.
So he's getting deja vu, I'm sure. Like, hey, this isn't supposed to happen twice.
I don't mind Eric Stahl losing the finals. It's okay with me.
Me neither. But I think it's kind of funny to see that something so similar has happened
Didn't
to
even
that
think
guy
of the Eric
twice.
Stahl factor. And then him being with his former coach Paul Maurice too.
Yeah. I was rooting for Maurice.
That was the one guy in Florida I really had no problem with. Like if he wanted, like I would have been like, good for him.
Yeah.
When he was at the Jets, he was he was a good guy. He represented the city well.
Yeah.
Was always thoughtful in the media, which most coaches aren't. Really don't give a good quote. He always gave a good quote.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll delve into the Jets later, but lots of Jets problems have continued since he has left. So you can't put everything on him for how things went down with the Jets.
Yeah, my take is the problems, would have developed whether he was there or, if it was someone else who wasn't involved in the locker room very heavily. Just because Scheif and Wheeler, from what we've heard rumored, just turned that situation into what it is themselves. And although he didn't cause the problem, he wasn't the solution.
I would say he partially caused the problem. And then he got fed up with them not adjusting, so he left. But part of that was who some of those core players were already, and part of that was Maurice giving them too much autonomy and letting, because he's very much a guy that lets the players control the room completely, and he's not that involved.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what led to the Jets' problems that we still have today.
Yeah.
But I still think he's a bad guy or anything. But we'll delve more into that later. First, there's more things to touch on in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So the Danny Heatley parody Twitter account, right?
I don't.
No?
I don't.
It's like one of those popular hockey Twitter accounts there is Heat Daddy?
No, I don't. Who is this?
No, he's like, it's one of the most popular like NHL,
Okay.
like I guess meme accounts you would say.
Okay.
And he's says he's Danny Heatley, but he's not. He just makes really funny tweets about the NHL or other things too.
Oh no, this is news to me. I haven't heard of
But
this.
the actual guy who runs the account was at the Stanley Cup Finals in Vegas, and he did an interview with Bleacher Report.
Really?
And he did a prediction for the game.
Okay.
And his prediction was 9-0, which shockingly he got 9 goals right out of a 9-0 Vegas win.
Oh
He
man!
got the Vegas 9 goals correct. But he predicted 9-0, Aiden Hill shutout, and then he also predicted 6 Keegan Kolesar goals, which he also didn't get.
Holy crap!
The fact that you're getting that right, like 9 goals in a Stanley Cup clinching win, that's got to be pretty rare.
I think no one's gonna make a prediction like that and think, oh yeah,
One of these things was becoming right, and like of course he got the goals right.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he had a really good time getting drunk and having a good time. As I'm sure many people in Vegas did, including the players. What did you think of the Conn Smythe winner, Jonathan Marchessault? There was lots of really good candidates for Vegas. Was he the right one?
I think he was.
Mm-hmm.
Just over the course of the entire stretch of the playoffs, from playing against the Jets to up until Florida, I think from what I was able to see, not only offensively but also defensively, he was just their best all-around player and contributed the most to their wins in every stretch. Like, I know Hill was really good towards the end. He was very, very good.
He was really good.
I think what Hill contributed was still not as much as Marchessault, and guys like, I'd say Eichel was pretty close.
I almost think Eichel would be my pick.
Yeah.
I think Marchessault was great, and in like the last 2 series especially.
Mm-hmm.
He really came up with some really, really big goals.
Yeah.
Especially because he was so cold. I don't think he had a goal against the Jets. Like, he was cold in the first round.
Really?
Yeah, and then Edmonton onwards, he was really, really hot.
Oh.
Edmonton series onwards, he always came up with the big goals, and not like big goals at the right time when they needed. And it's a really nice story of him being one of the original Vegas Golden Knights from the expansion draft.
True.
And him getting the Conn Smythe against the team that threw him away, Florida.
Speaking of winning the Conn Smythe, did you see the picture of him in the middle of the Vegas team. They all are hugging, and it's a big heart.
I did see that. It's like shaped like that, and it looks like a scene from a movie where, like, that was
he's the only one looking up, and everyone else is completely wrapped around him in this accidental heart shape, and it's. I would get a poster of that if I was.
That's one of the best like Stanley Cup championship photos I think there ever will be, because that was really really cool. I saw that too. He was very very happy. Yeah. Def Marshall still seems like a guy that has chip on his shoulder, people doubting him, bouncing around from teams, but in Vegas he has been such a big part of the core of that team. Yeah,
he's not necessarily a personality that I've always loved, but
he's a little hot-headed, let's say.
A little bit.
At times.
A little bit. He said some things on Instagram that I got a little prickled by, but...
he should put his phone down when he's upset sometimes,
Yeah, but, in terms of what he produces on ice, you can't deny it.
Yeah, but I would say, I think my Conn Smythe pick would be Jack Eichel.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he led playoffs in scoring. But not only that, I actually think he was so good defensively too. They're just exactly what they traded for, a Stanley Cup, two-way first line center. I think that's exactly what he was. He was just so solid every game.
Yeah.
And even against McDavid, his matches against McDavid, he looked really really good.
Yeah,
you just saw his skill, his vision. It seemed like every other game he was making a ridiculous pass that led to a goal.
Yeah.
And another great story with Eichel too, who's kind of a misfit in his own right. Even when he got drafted from Buffalo, their GM said how they were disappointed that they didn't get McDavid.
Yeah, that's.
And then with how things ended up in Buffalo, he got traded out. He couldn't get his surgery. He goes to Vegas. He gets his surgery. And he gets a Stanley Cup in his first ever playoff appearance. Gets his first Stanley Cup before McDavid. So I guess Buffalo won the draft that year, even though they traded him away.
I would have never expected McDavid to get to the finals after Eichel, let alone for Eichel to actually win the darn thing first. But I think Eichel moving to Vegas the way that they did made... at least to me, if I were a GM, I would see that as a big sign that, hey, next time there's a big number one center available,
go out and get him.
You need to get him, because that doesn't happen every day, and those guys can make a serious impact in the playoffs.
He did. He made more of an impact than I would have thought, especially after how bad he looked in his first game. His first game against the Jets, remember how bad he looked?
Yeah.
He looked rough, but literally pretty much every game after that, he was really, really solid.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of which, of number one centers who are available, there are two on the Jets.
I feel like we're going to come back to the Jets a lot.
Yeah.
Well, probably true.
Just saying. I think Eichel being as relevant in the playoffs as he was, given, it's the number one center who got moved and Vegas picked him up, and they've been making so many acquisitions.
Eichel's better than Dubois.
He is, and it's not even close. But it's still the same concept of Vegas only had one drafted player on their roster when they won the Stanley Cup.
They're a bottom pairing defenseman.
Yeah.
Nick Hague. I think on most teams he's at least a second pair. But I think that's another point. I think that's a trend you'll start seeing with teams.
Yeah.
Vegas was so committed to winning that they were willing to do anything to win. They didn't care if they made people upset with the moves they made. And guess what? It worked.
Yeah.
And if you have to, being a general manager, it's not an easy job. You're going to have to make some decisions that people aren't going to like. And I guess Kelly McCrimmon and George McPhee, those two managers at the top of the Vegas Golden Knights, know that more so than anybody, because boy, oh boy, did they make some cutthroat decisions, and it paid off.
The one that I never understood was Fleury. Why did they give him up for so little when
nothing?
You could have gotten something for the guy.
Well, apparently not. They just... Well, you know what? I bet you it was... They could have gotten something, but they would have had to retain, and they just wanted all the cap space gone.
Oh.
Because he's making $7 million.
I guess that would make sense.
Or like 7.1.
But I also think it's strange that they decided to move him at all, because he had just won the Vezina. But that was the one move that really bothered me.
See, that looks really bad. That really does look bad. Probably the franchise's most iconic player and person that are recognizable to fans up until the point he was traded, and trading him for nothing when he wins a Vezina, that does look really bad.
Yeah.
But would you rather look bad and win a Stanley Cup, or look like a bunch of choir boys and not make anybody mad and not win a Stanley Cup?
I guess that's true.
That's kind of the decision they went with.
Yeah, hindsight is 2020. It did get them the cup, and who knows if they would have won had they kept flurry.
There's quite a long time where I was thinking, I don't know if they won the Eichel trade just because Tuck, like this year he was over a point a game. He had like 35 goals in Buffalo. He had like a monster year, and then they got, because remember they got Tuck and they got Krebs.
Yeah.
And they got a first.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good return. But
now,
they got Eichel.
Now that Eichel is there and he won the Stanley Cup and he's such a key contributor, I think it's hard to argue that they did not win the trade. But like, you could trade Lucic for McDavid if you're the team with Lucic and you win the Stanley Cup that year. It's probably worth it. I
guess. I mean, I would never say that's a win, but if you win the Stanley Cup, who can deny it?
That's the thing you want to do most in this league. So I think it's hard to. I mean, obviously my example is a bit of an exaggeration, but I think you know what I'm getting at. That above all, if you win with the piece that you acquired, that kind of you pretty much won the trade no matter what.
Yeah. End of the day, wins is all that counts, and the only win that really counts is how many times did you win the Stanley Cup.
That is. You know what's crazy? Do you remember the owner for the Vegas Golden Knights, Bill Foley, when they first came to the league? He had a plan to win the cup in so many years.
Yeah, because he only plans on being in the league for a certain amount of time, right? Is that correct?
Actually, I'm not sure. He is kind of old, but I'm not sure how long he plans to be the controlling owner of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's saying, okay, I only want to be in control of the Knights for this many years, so we got to win it by this year. So, anything possible, just make it happen, because I want to get out of here.
Yeah, he said 6 years they're going to win the cup. This was year 6.
Really?
Yep.
Whoa!
So that was exactly his plan. He said, we're going to win the cup in 6 years. This was year 6.
Bro, imagine if Bobrovsky decides to stay hot. Well, it wasn't up to him.
I think a big part of it was Florida's injuries.
Yeah.
Did you hear about some of them?
I know Tkachuk didn't play.
Yeah, do you know why he didn't play? What his injury was?
No, I didn't.
He played he played like parts of Game 3 and all of Game 4 with a broken sternum. Isn't that like such a bad injury where if somebody hits you hard enough, like you could like die?
Yeah.
So that's funny enough. That's not the first time I've heard about an NHL player playing with a broken sternum.
Really?
In the 2018 Jets Wild Series, I think, was it Buffalo who hit Parise really hard? No, I think I don't even know what it was, but I know Parise broke his sternum and he played like the rest of the game.
Oh my God!
Against Winnipeg, which is so tragic because it was the first round, they got smoked in 5 games.
I thought the most hardcore playing through an injury was Erik Karlsson's breaking both feet and continuing to play.
He was like that was the crazy thing. He broke. Yeah, I think he broke a bone in one of his feet, and he was like. For almost the whole playoffs, he played with that injury, and he was like over a point a game, and he was unreal.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I think a broken foot, that is a lot different than a broken sternum. Mm-hmm. I think there's a conversation to be had about whether at what point is it not heroic and it's just stupid.
Yeah.
For NHL players to be playing through some of these sorts of injuries,
yeah.
Like for Tkachuk playing through a broken sternum, I think that's just dumb. Even if you take one shift in that game, I think that's stupid. Like you're putting so much risk to your like immediate and long-term health with that kind of injury. I just think that's so stupid.
Yeah, and with Karlsson, I don't know if I don't follow him super closely. I don't know if it was the reason why he regressed so hard was playing through that injury in particular.
I think it was more his ACL.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah, remember when Matt Cook stepped on his ankle?
No, I don't.
Unintentionally?
Actually. No, I don't.
Yeah, that was in the lockout season 2013. He got a skate right to his Achilles, tore his Achilles, and then pretty much since then he hasn't been the same, but obviously...
Well, he did the broken feet thing after that, I believe.
Yeah, it was after that too. Well, he's had a lot of injuries in his lower body. No,
I was thinking...
I think he's injured his hips too. Like, I think his legs are just mush. Mm-hmm. I think he must have gotten healthy this year. He got 100 points, but...
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's finally back, but it took him forever. So
I mean, doesn't mean he plays a lick of defense, but he can at least get points still.
I think even with playing basically zero defense and being a god awful defenseman, he still contributed a whole shit ton to every single game. So more than
and obviously, if he was on a team that was winning, I think he would play a lot more defense. I almost honestly think he tried to put up the biggest point totals he could so he could get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Plus, it's not like he's exactly trying to win a whole lot when he's in San Jose because they don't have anything around him.
No.
It's Erik Karlsson and friends.
Well, Thomas Hurdle's pretty good. Logan is pretty good.
He is.
Timo Meier was good until he was traded in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Well, he's still good. He's just not in San Jose.
Yeah, that's what Yeah.
They got bad goaltending.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Karlsson, they don't really have that many people on defense that are super noteworthy.
Yeah. So Karlsson and friends.
They got washed up. Vlasic.
Vlasic. Oh man. Still picking around, yeah.
Yeah, he's still kicking around.
Oh.
And oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Back to Vegas. Another thing with Vegas that's interesting from the Manitoba perspective, all the Manitobans that won.
Yeah. Most notably for me, I was cheering really hard for Mark Stone.
I was happy for Mark Stone too. Out of all the Manitobans, I think I was most happy for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he's just fourth round draft pick. Nobody thought he'd make it.
Yeah.
Becomes a really good player. Gets traded to Vegas. Becomes a captain.
Yeah.
And you could argue he could have won a Conn Smythe too, getting a hat trick in the game, deciding game.
Honestly, I mean, one of them was an empty.
24 points in 22 games.
Yeah, one of them was an empty net, but it was still a hat trick.
It was remarkable, actually, just thinking about how injured Stone was. Like, he's had such bad back problems for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I think there were some questions about, how long he might have to play in this league with how much of these injuries keep piling up.
Yeah.
Or how much he'd even play this year at all.
Would you be surprised if he decides that was my last hurrah, I'm going to hang up the skates?
No, I don't think so. No, he's going to play.
You think he's going to?
Maybe if he was 35, 36, then yeah. But I think just because he's young enough, he's 31 or 32,
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll definitely try for a few more years.
I just think given if all you come here for is Stanley Cup, that's all you want, and now you've finally done it, and you're basically always injured forever, eventually it might just get to you. Like, okay, I'm sick of being hurt all the time.
They'll still give it a few more years, though, anyway.
You think?
Yeah. Are you going to go to wherever he brings the Stanley Cup in Winnipeg?
Oh,
because there's a bunch of guys from Manitoba, but he's the only guy from Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be the only opportunity for the Cup to be in Winnipeg.
Yeah, if I have the opportunity to go, like if I have the time, absolutely, I will be there.
Mm-hmm.
No question about it.
I wonder if he'll bring it to his high school. I think he went to Westwood Collegiate.
Oh, okay. So
Maybe he'd
I guess
bring
he's
it
got
there.
to hang out there until
Or
he comes
around
by.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. So I've never went to like the Tays ones whenever he came back when he won.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've ever seen the Stanley Cup in person.
Me neither.
No.
The only time Toronto fans will be able to see it in person is when it's in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Okay. already dividing the fan base here. Leafs fans, I don't got a problem with you. I really don't. You're an interesting team to talk about. There's lots of stuff going on.
Actually, you know what? I've turned around on the Leafs a little bit.
Well,
I don't dislike them as much as I did.
You're glad that Dubas dumbass is not in there?
I like Dubas.
Okay, there you go. I like Dubas too.
I like Dubas. I didn't see a problem with Dubas. I understand why they felt so pressured that, okay, we just need to fire somebody. So
yeah.
Dubas happened to be the guy, and he's asking for more autonomy. So, it's an excuse.
Basically, he wanted to eliminate Brendan Shanahan from the fold, and Brendan Shanahan would be like, no, I like my job, so I'll fire you.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like that's what happened. And now Dubas is the GM of, no, he's not the GM. He's the
president of hockey operations.
For the Pittsburgh Penguins. And did you see who we just hired today?
I did.
Assistant GM.
Jason Spezza.
Jason Spezza, who in the little press release said will report directly to not the GM, the president.
Hey, that was awesome. I love
that.
Spezza's a good guy.
I think so too. Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun seeing them cheer in the press box when they beat Tampa.
Yeah.
Dubas and Spezza.
Yeah.
And we'll be seeing that more in Pittsburgh now. But it's be an interesting situation, like the management situation in Pittsburgh, because it sure seems like Dubas, he wants to be the president and the GM basically, but he's still got to hire GM. So whoever is the GM will basically be an assistant GM.
It'll be his bitch.
I mean,
pardon my language. Am I allowed to swear on here?
Sure.
Okay.
Professionally, I'll say Dubas will be the primary maker of hockey decisions.
Yeah.
And GM will be, there to do some of the dirty work, work on trades, stuff like that. But the final say will go to Dubas, and that's exactly what he wanted. So good for him.
Yeah.
But back on the Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of the things I was really wanting to show you. Phil Kessel was interviewing somebody with the Hockey News, Mike Stevens.
I know where this is going.
And he had a pretty hilarious quote that I don't think anybody was expecting. So
he did. What did he say?
He was so when he was talking post game, he was talking about winning the Stanley Cup and some things that reminded him of his past, and he said, "It takes me back to my Toronto days." Kessel told Mike Stevens of the Hockey News, "You guys said I couldn't win, and now I'm a 3-time champ. Remember that." So Phil Kessel, who played 4 games of this entire playoffs, has
he played 4 games
against Winnipeg.
Okay, I didn't realize he even played those 4.
Yeah. And then he has the utter confidence to just absolutely shit on Toronto media. So
I love it.
There's nothing but respect for that, honestly.
I love it, man. I mean,
he deserves it, man. Oh my god.
I think even though he didn't play very much in the playoffs, he
played the whole regular season.
He played every regular season game. So say if he doesn't play, maybe they aren't where they are in the standings. Maybe they're 1 point.
You still contribute. You play a whole regular season. You still contribute to the team where they end up.
Yeah, exactly. And you contributed to then who they ended up playing.
Mm-hmm.
So say if he didn't play, maybe they play someone else who knocks him out.
Yeah.
It was absolutely worth taking pride in, even though he didn't play very much in the playoffs.
The guy that never drinks water, only drinks Coke on the bench, the hot dog man himself, Phil Thrill. And you know what? The funny thing, he right in his post, another one of his post-game interviews, he immediately said, "Oh yeah, I'm playing next year."
Really?
So Phil is going to be, it might not be Vegas, but he will be on an NHL team next year.
Does he still have the Iron Man streak going?
Yep.
Holy crap.
Because he played every regular season game.
Man. That guy's insane. Imagine the kind of record he set.
If the Jets trade trade all the guys away that we think they might trade away, they got to sign Phil the Thrill just for morale.
I'd love it. Man, at least it's a guy who's never going to miss a game. As opposed to when we signed Sam Gagner.
Imagine having Nate Schmidt and Phil Kessel on the same team. Two Minnesota guys that absolutely everybody loves to be around.
Bring around the Minnesota Mafia. Just get rid of Wheeler, please.
Yes, that is. Yeah, we'll get to that a little later, but definitely want to get rid of Wheeler for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But did you hear the injury that Ekblad was playing through?
No.
There's actually multiple for Ekblad. So, we got the Kachuk broken sternum. That was a big one.
Okay.
Forgot to touch on Ekblad. Ekblad is pretty crazy, too. So, he played the whole playoffs, almost the whole playoffs. This happened in the Boston series with a broken foot.
Mm-hmm.
And he played from, Boston series onward, whatever game that happened in that series with a broken foot. He also played with 2 separate shoulder dislocations.
Dude.
So he separated,
twice.
This shoulder and then this shoulder.
Oh man.
Separate shoulder dislocations. So he got both his shoulders dislocated, and then he, played through those injuries whenever they happened. And then he also played through a torn oblique. So my man was being held together by duct tape and probably a lot of drugs.
Oh my god.
Well, I don't know how you would play with all that.
Have you seen that there was a documentary that was done on the effects of the drugs that hockey players take to keep them going in the playoffs?
Was it Kessler?
Yeah,
the TSN one. Yeah. Oh, I did see that.
The fact
it's scary.
I guarantee he was on that.
He was on Toradol, for sure. He was on Toradol.
And he's going to be feeling that all summer. The repercussions of that. Holy crap.
Well, you just hope that, it's a very scary thing the way they get these athletes addicted to painkillers when they give them stuff like that they probably shouldn't be giving them.
Yeah.
So, wish nothing but the best for Aaron Ekblad and his recovery.
Yeah.
Maurice said there's some guys on the team that probably won't be ready for the start of the regular season next year. You could really tell that Florida gave everything they had.
Yeah.
They really, really did.
I think it's unfortunate how injured they were, given Vegas seemed fine. Were they mostly fine? Was there anyone?
Nobody was out of the lineup. I mean, obviously at that point everybody's gonna be a little banged up.
I guess that's
true.
But
I think that I don't know, just the way they were rolling, I do think that they were healthier than most teams would be by that point in a playoff.
Yeah.
And I think Vegas, it's just such a testament to their depth.
Mm-hmm.
When they were facing the Jets, they really didn't scare me that much.
Yeah.
But then when you have Hill being a .930, and you have a deep team rolling on all cylinders, they were pretty much unstoppable. They're kind of a boring champion. Like in their entire run, when were things really, getting close to getting scary?
They felt very much like if the Islanders were to win it. It's boring hockey, but it's winning hockey.
The closest they ever got was Edmonton.
Yeah.
To losing.
Yep.
And even that wasn't even 7 games, it was 6.
Yeah, I thought going into that series, the second I saw it was Vegas versus Edmonton, I thought Edmonton's kind of screwed because Edmonton gets a lot of their goals on the power play. But Vegas
doesn't take penalties.
They don't take penalties.
They don't take penalties.
And they're easily the least penalized team in the league by a lot.
Yeah, in the regular season and in the playoffs, they were very disciplined.
So that was, I think, Vegas's one team that they really shouldn't have wanted to play. And, sadly for them, it ended up being second round. Mm-hmm. So who knows, if you end up managing to skip them, if Winnipeg beats Vegas somehow, and it ends up being Edmonton versus Winnipeg, I think Edmonton has a way better chance of beating us than beating Vegas, just simply based on how they get their points.
What do you think of the idea that Vegas and Florida, or teams like that are in warm weather American states that have, a little easy on the taxes,
mm-hmm.
do you think they have an unfair advantage compared to, let's say, the Canadian teams? Do you think that's a legit thing, or do you think that's something that's blown out of proportion?
I think it makes it a lot harder to sign free agents because most players that have the no trade clause,
it's like pretty much a significant portion of them are all Canadian teams.
Yeah, but I also think most winning teams aren't going to rely on free agent signings of any kind of high significance.
Well, Vegas, but they're an outlier. The way they ruthlessly made free agent signings and big trades, that's the outlier. That doesn't happen too often.
That's true. I'm thinking just on average in terms of like the last 10 years of hockey winners.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to not be ones that have egregious free agent contracts, but maybe you trade for a lot of players, or you have the draft and develop, which is more common.
Mm-hmm.
I think Colorado had a lot of their players through trades when they won.
Yeah.
They had a ton of trades. And
yeah, what do they have? Darren Helm, Josh Manson, Nazem Kadri.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big one. He had a monster year that year and a big playoff that year.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's more. Andre Burakovsky.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more significant pieces I'm not even thinking of. But
Taves.
Devin Taves, that was a money trade. When you fleece Lou Lamoriello, that's when you know you're making a good deal. 2 second-round picks for a bona fide two-way number one defenseman.
Yeah.
Making like what? Was making like $4.5 million or something ridiculous like that, where he's probably worth double that.
It's a bad trade when people at the time of the trade.
You're like, hey, what the hell is bad?
Yeah.
And then it gets way worse right after that. He's even better.
If you were a fan of Devin Taves before, if he was on your team and we traded him for that? And that's the general consensus of him getting moved to Colorado? That's not a good sign.
No, it's not.
But I think teams in that warm weather, low tax bracket, it gives them a step up, but I wouldn't say it gives them an advantage of any real crazy significance. It just means that teams need to be more creative with their trades, and they need to be smart about drafting. But as long as you're good at those two things, it really shouldn't be a hindrance.
Yeah, no, that's very, very true. And oh my God, I'm blanking. By the way, everybody, I'm looking at my notes. I haven't done this that much, so yeah, maybe I'm cheating a little bit, but give me a minute. You'll get So, do you think the way salary cap rules currently are constructed, and those teams having the advantages they may,
mm-hmm.
do you think it's possible for a Stanley Cup champion to ever be a Canadian team ever again?
Oh, of course.
Unless the rules change.
Yeah, I think ever again, absolutely. There's a lot of time to go before the heat death of the universe. But say it might not necessarily be when I'm alive. I hope it happens sometime soon, let alone while I'm alive.
Hopefully it's the Jets.
Hopefully it's the Jets. If it's not the Jets, I would be very, very happy if it's Ottawa. But those are the two.
Not Toronto?
Well, for Toronto, I'd be happy for our buddy Millsy because he likes Toronto. But aside from that, I would.
Most fans don't think deserve it.
Yeah, the thing is, most fans that you hear tend to be the most obnoxious because it's the loudest people in this giant pool of fans that are the ones that stick out. It's like, okay, I really don't like you, and you're making my opinion of Leaf fans in general much worse than it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
But not to say that most Leaf fans are even bad, but you know, they have rubbed me the wrong way over the years.
There's a lot of them. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. I think most of them are fine. It's just there's so many of them and they're so loud that when the bad ones say shitty things, you hear about it.
Yeah.
Basically.
I think the one fan base that goes really unnoticed because they all speak French is the Canadians. Like, that's a massive market, and if they all, decided, hey, we are going to shit talk everyone in English, they would be a very, very widely hated fan base.
Oh my god, I'm spilling all over myself. Anyway, we were previewing it for a while, but time's starting to get a little crunchy, so we got to start talking about the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
Lots to talk about. First things first, as reported by Pierre Lebrun, it was something like a week ago. Pierre-Luc Dubois officially requests a trade, says he will not sign a contract for the Winnipeg Jets for the 2023-2024 season.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a few teams that have been rumored to be interested outside of Montreal, which of course everybody thinks is the primary landing spot. But there were reports from various sources stating LA, Minnesota, the New York Rangers, Colorado, Carolina, and of course Montreal as teams that would have interest in Dubois, and teams that Dubois might have an interest in extending with.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that will have to be the big thing with the Jets, is creating a market for Dubois and really convincing these teams that there's actually a significant chance that Dubois will sign an 8-year term with them. Whether that happens, I don't know. I just want you to know. I want to know what you think, if it'll be, out of LA, Minnesota, New York, Colorado, Carolina, who do you see as a non-Montreal team that he will get traded to this offseason? If it's not Montreal, where's it going to be?
As a non-Montreal team?
Yeah.
Did you mention Minnesota on there?
There was reports of Minnesota, yes, but I believe it was either the 32 Thoughts podcast or the Jeff Merrick show, where either Elliot or Jeff mentioned the possibility of Minnesota.
Oh,
where stylistically I certainly see it as a fit, but trading within your division, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the one that I haven't heard. The rest of the list I've heard before, but Minnesota was one that was off my radar. But I think for that reason, I'd say they're the least likely. Because first of all,
their cap situation too.
Yeah, their cap situation.
It's pretty rough.
They're kind of screwed. Plus, it's in the Central Division. I think that's something that makes it hard for Colorado as well if they're interested in Dubois. But my top fitters, other than Montreal, I think are LA and Carolina. And just those two teams. They seem like they're very desperate to get it as soon as possible. I know the Kings especially have a very big prospect pool that they could use.
Oh yeah, they do.
So it's
they
not
have
like
prospects that excite me for a return.
Yeah, it's not like they wouldn't be able to outbid any of the other teams.
I've heard Quinton Byfield being thrown out there, and I actually really liked the way Byfield looked in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big criticism of him was that he didn't use the size enough. He didn't play. It's not like as a skilled player, second overall pick, people expect you to be Milan Lucic and run around and fight through everything. But finish your checks, use your size is the expectation, and I don't think that's something you saw in his first 2 years in the league. And I think in the playoffs, that's a part of his game I think really developed. You saw him finishing his checks. You saw him be a little bit annoying. And in the playoffs, you need your top players to be a little bit annoying sometimes.
Yeah. Well, he's a very young guy. He's, how old is he, like 20?
21?
21, yeah. He fresh into the NHL. He's very young. He was, I know, a second overall pick, so there's high expectations.
Yeah, of course.
But he still has a lot of time here to establish himself and turn himself into the player that he was drafted to be. So I think, there's always going to be those guys who are drafted really high and expected to carry the world on their shoulders right away. But just give them the time and they'll turn it around.
Yeah, if, I believe he had 22 points in 53 games this year for LA, playing 14 minutes a night. So, if he ever got the opportunity to be traded to the Jets, maybe bump those minutes up to about 60 minutes a night, play center, which I don't think he played too much of in LA. There'd be a real opportunity for him to for his production to really grow.
Yeah, I think Byfield would be a real sleeper hit. It's a guy that I know LA themselves would be very big on. They spent a second overall pick on him, but in terms of maybe how the overall hockey world sees him based on how he's performed so far, I think he's a guy that could have some really sneaky upside in a few years.
So, do you think Dubois will get traded at the draft?
I think so. I think most, if not all, of the big four names I think three of them will get moved at the draft. And that would be Dubois, Scheifele, Hellebuck. And Wheeler, maybe he gets maybe bought out. Maybe they just spend the summer trying to find a suitor for him. I don't know what the situation is there for him. But Scheifele, Dubois, and Hellebuck, I think, are going to all get moved at the draft, just based on how I have seen Chev do previous moves in the past.
I don't know if they'll all get moved at the draft. I think there is a significant chance that any one of them could get moved at the draft. I really do. It seems like, media members say this every year, but it seems like there's going to be some movement at this year's draft.
Yeah.
More so than other years.
Yeah.
And with the cap still remaining a bit lower than what people were wanting it to become for next year, that'll be a factor. If you can't sign free agents, the next thing you got to do to improve your team is trade. And you might see teams starting to be more desperate in doing that.
Yeah.
And especially with Hellebuck, I'll be really curious to see what the smoke around those rumors at the draft will be like, because if Hellebuck could sign an extension somewhere as part of the trade, you could get so much for that player.
King's ransom.
You would be able to get maybe even from the Kings, honestly. Maybe you do. Maybe you do Dubois and Hellebuck to the Kings.
Yeah. Oh man, Dubois and Hellebuck with a sign-in trade for Hellebuck, and maybe for Dubois as well, if you were to theoretically get him to agree to that.
What do I want? Byfield, Kaliev, Brant Clark, and the rights to Jonas Korpisalo.
And their next bajillion first-round picks.
Yeah, probably something like that too.
Yeah, just forever, all their next first-round picks indefinitely.
Or maybe Gabriel Velarde. He's good too. He's pretty young.
Sure, let's bring him along too, and everyone else.
And Dowdy.
Let's get Kopitar. Let's get everyone else in their top six.
Somehow we'll get Jonathan Quick, even though he's in Vegas.
Traded to LA just to move to Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He'd be so happy about that. Remember how mad he was when he got traded to Vegas? He got traded to Columbus.
Yeah.
And he was so pissed about that.
And man. Yeah.
And then Columbus did him a solid getting him to Vegas.
Yeah.
And then he ended up winning a cup anyway with his former teammate Alan Martinez.
Ended up for the best for him. I'm happy for him that he was able to win another cup. That was his third one, right?
Third, yeah. Alec Martinez, who also won 2 with the Kings on those teams. That's his third too.
I think it's hilarious that 2 of the 3-time winners, Quick and Iron Man guy, Phil Kessel.
Phil the Thrill.
Phil the Thrill. Were able to get their third cup while doing very little.
Very little, yeah. Yeah.
What a way to get it.
Did Quick even dress in the game? No, he dressed. He as a backup, but did he play?
He played regular season. I don't know if he ever played playoffs.
Did Brossois ever get pulled where Quick had to go in?
I don't think so. Not that I know. It may have happened, but I'm not aware of that.
So yeah, the next thing, as we know, there was a report from The Athletic that Hellebuck will not sign with the Jets on his next deal.
Yeah.
So that's another domino falling there.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not a trade request, but it's a trade request, basically.
Man, I just bought his kid's book.
Really?
I bought it!
Oh, that's not something you should feel bad about buying.
Yeah.
The kind of things he's done for mental health in the community here has been really good, but...
Yeah.
I don't blame him. I think the Jets need a retool, and I think that's the right direction for the team, so I'm glad he made that decision now for them.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing I'm wondering is, before the draft, do you see a Scheifele trade request? Because
before the draft,
because if Dubois is gone, and if he knows Dubois is gone and Hellebuck's gone, why would Scheifele want to stay?
Honestly, I don't see it because
I think he would probably want to go, especially if those two guys are gone. I think he wants to be gone.
I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to be gone, but I don't see a trade request because Scheifele's always struck me as the kind of guy who wants to appear more committed to the team than he actually is. And in the offseason, we'll tell you all these great things about, I'm going to come back and I'm going to play defense.
I'm so excited for Bones. He's going to get me to play defense. And I'm going to preach accountability. Yeah. Except when it happens to me and I get benched. And then I pout the rest of the season.
Yeah. So I take it he's probably just going to whine to his friends about how he doesn't want to play in Winnipeg anymore, but he's not going to make an official request. That's how I see it.
No, I mean, when you have a contract that's upcoming, I think that really pushes things going. Maybe even if he doesn't ask for a trade request, I think they could trade him. And we mentioned Carolina for Dubois. I actually see Carolina as more of a fit for Scheifele.
I think that would be great.
I think they like the idea of that term, like the 1 year, because they still got to figure out what they're going to do on an Aho extension, so that works for them.
Yeah.
Reasonable cap hit, what I actually think is kind of an underrated piece of a Scheifele trade. $6 million for a guy that just scored 40 goals and is probably going to get 75, 80 points next year on a good team.
True.
That's really, really valuable.
Yeah.
And
I mean, say what you want about his defense, but Carolina as a team just plays a solid system.
That's exactly what I was getting to. Carolina plays such a good system that even if Scheifele increased his defensive effort by 20%, I think that would go a long way. And he would play on a team where their playing style insulates his poor defense because he's not going to be in the defensive zone that much because it's Carolina and they're always in the offensive zone.
Yeah, he's always just one of the 5 guys on the ice too there, and you have 4 guys that can all pitch in just a little bit to contribute for his lack of defense.
Yeah, and just seeing how Shane Gostisbehere played this year. Prototypical offensive, all offense, no defense defenseman.
Yeah.
And he would in the playoffs. I was quite surprised to see how committed he was playing in his own end.
Yeah.
And I think you could see the same out of Scheifele. Rod Brind'Amour is really good at motivating his players.
Yeah.
And Scheifele might have a little bit of an attitude pouting problem sometimes.
Yep.
But I think on that team, in that situation with that coach, I think you could get a lot out of him still.
I think especially being put into a team where he hasn't developed any kind of respect from the other players by being there for so long. Whereas with Winnipeg, he was their first ever pick, and essentially from what felt like day one, he's just been there. And every player who has joined the Jets may have most likely been there after him. So they're always going to be looking to the guys who were there first. Whereas now he'll be the new guy in the room who's trying to make a good impression, and he'll have way less reason to pull any kind of crap in that locker room than here.
Yeah, he just won't be a controlling factor in the leadership. He'll just have to go in, try to fit in, and be a hockey player.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
The worst thing you want to have happen in a new environment is be the odd guy out who no one wants to hear anything from anymore. So he's going to, want to at least get on the right foot with the new team.
And, last question for you, just quickly before we have to wrap up. What kind of player do you want the Jets to draft at the draft? There's lots of talks about trades, who the Jets are going to bring in, but nobody's talking about the actual, I don't think there's that many people talking about actually which player the Jets are going to draft at I think it's 18th overall.
Mm-hmm. Well,
what kind of player do you want them to draft? It seems like in this draft, there's lots of variation from about probably pick 11 or 12 to 25.
Yeah.
That's right in the middle of where the Jets are.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any specific players you have in mind? And if not, what kind of player would you like to see them draft?
Honestly, there's no particular players in that range that I say, yes, this is the guy. There's one that sticks out that's a lot higher, that if a pick were to be moved, say around number 5,
there we go.
I would die for the Jets to draft Matvei Michkov.
I would concur with that statement.
Yeah, if that were anywhere in the realm of possibilities for him to fall to number 5 and that pick got moved for, say, Dubois with a sign and trade, where 8 years to this term or whatever, and it's a good term because he's going to Montreal.
Yeah.
And then we'll give you the 5th overall pick for it. in a year where the 5th overall pick is worth so much.
I really don't think. I think you'd have to give up more than that.
Yeah, I don't care what you need to give up. I just want Matvei Michkov.
No, I really agree. I like just seeing some of the scouting reports on him. Some people have his upside higher than Bedard. Like, he is a really, really talented player, shoo-in to be a star player once he gets to the NHL. And I think NHL teams really undervalue him just because it's going to take a few years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with a 25th overall pick, that's a first round pick. It's going to take a few years. So like, and if you're bad, what does it matter? You're bad anyway.
Yeah.
You could wait for Michkov.
That's true.
And he's such a talented player and such a game changer. Very few. It's hard for players, that are teenagers to really score in the KHL.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not all that far off from point a game in the KHL.
Yeah.
For example, in Ovechkin's draft year, he was under half a point a game in the KHL. Michkov was something like 21 points in 28 games.
Yeah.
That's really, really hard to do for young players to get ice time there.
Yeah.
And he was able to, and he really showed his skill set, really showed his goal scoring ability. And we weren't able to see him in the World Juniors because of Team Russia not being involved in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's underrated. I think if he drops anywhere past 5, or if he drops anywhere from like 4 or lower, and you could trade up for that pick,
mm-hmm.
I would strongly consider looking at doing that because
100%.
He's such a talent. It's going to be worth the 2 or 3 year wait, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, 100%. Plus, I think his timeline for when he would come into the league would work better for the Jets' next realistic timeline anyways, because you have to wait for Brad Lambert to be NHL, not just ready to play, but ready
player.
Yeah, not just ready to be a player on the team, but...
And Chaz Lucius and Roger McGorty. All those guys are in a few years away from being...
Plus Perfetti. You don't want them to just be there. You want them to make a serious impact every year, and that's years away. So if you get Matvei Michkov, who is getting off of his KHL contract around the same time that they're really starting to get going, it would be perfect. Perfect timing.
And the best part about that is if you could manage to sign Michkov to a 3-year entry-level deal when he's like 20 or 21, and then you have those years at entry-level salary, plus while all your other young players are peaking.
Yeah, I know.
That is a really, really good setup to make a run.
I know a lot of fans were really bothered. They're bothered every year by whatever team that does the cap fuckery, but that would be a way to do it without doing it.
Vegas was $13 million above the cap, something like that.
Yeah.
But every NHL team does it.
Tampa's done it a couple times.
If your team doesn't do it, well, then get good.
Yeah. Speaking of Tampa, who's done it a couple times, it's hilarious to think that they were the ones who made the initial push to try to get that removed from the rules when I think it was Chicago did it.
Yeah, because Chicago won one of their cups like that a while ago, where they were $10 million over the cap. I think. Yeah.
So if you can't beat them, join them, I guess. But
they joined them twice.
Yeah.
2 cups.
But coming back to the draft, are there any players in the lower rounds,
18.
say around where the Jets are picking,
slot?
that you would really want the Jets to pick?
There was one player that I think. There's a few. I don't know. I really doubt he would drop to 18.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard some things where potentially Winnipeg Ice center Zach Benson could drop outside. He potentially could drop outside of the top 10, and that would be a really good player to trade up for. I used to work for the Winnipeg Ice, so I watched their games. When he was 16 years old, I couldn't believe how much of an impact he had, not only offensively but defensively.
Yeah.
He was just all over the ice, and really, really good awareness, and to be that good defensively on that good of a team in the WHL at that age is really impressive. And he's only developed on those skills this year. If that's a guy you could trade up for and get at 11, 12, 13, that would be really, really valuable. But around 18, there's so many guys. There is a U.S. Development player who has, I think, really high upside.
Okay.
But maybe a little more of a risky pick.
Okay.
I believe his name is Gabriel Perreault. He broke Austin Matthews' U.S. development team goal scoring record.
Hey.
And but he's projected to go in the realm of 15 to 25.
Wait, if he's he broke Austin Matthews' record. Why is he so low?
I don't know.
Size?
Maybe I think he's slow or something like that. Something
kind of Jason Robertson. He's not a good skater, so
very
he'll fall in the second
you
round.
know, something about him is just a really raw talent.
Yeah.
That'd be a guy I'd look at. You could never go wrong with a goal scorer like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be honest, there hasn't been too many. I haven't really delved into the draft around with it around the 20s yet.
Mm.
I guess I've been too busy looking at the shiny objects, Michkov and Benson.
Yeah, honestly, same.
And players like that of that ilk.
Yeah, I've been very distracted, especially by is he Connor Bedard's combine?
Oh my God, he's jacked.
He is. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming at all. You see the videos of him on the bike. He's a monster.
It looks like he's jacked like Crosby or McKinnon.
Yeah.
And he's 18.
Have
you seen his workout videos? His workout videos look like he's preparing to fight Thanos.
No, I haven't.
It looked like just the craziest things. Like he's like the way he's running, and he has like people holding him back on tension bands. And he's throwing weighted balls. I don't know what he's training for, but it looks like he's training for literally to fight Thanos. Or
War.
Something. Yeah, I guess. A league above the NHL, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, the next
he's
thing.
Striving to get to.
When they make another league that's, just Crosby, McDavid, McKinnon, Matthews, Draisaitl, and Bedard. And it's just those guys playing on each other.
No, it's like you can have it something like the CFL where it's like 8 or 9 team league, and you just have those players going at each other. Well, yeah, our background ran out, but that's okay. That also gives us time to wrap it up. I don't even know how long we've been going.
we should have said
a timer.
A timer.
Maybe.
Yeah. I could have put my phone up and put.
That's
a timer,
the thing. We
but
talk about sports with this guy. Time flies by, and that's what you want to do that's what we want to do in this show. We really just want to have fun, and talk about the things that interest us, and not worry. Well, actually, no, we should worry about the timing.
Yeah.
We should probably stick it down.
It's the inaugural episode.
Things go off the wall. I forget where I'm at in my script that I already admitted to the audience that I'm reading off of. It's not a script, it's notes.
It's notes.
It's notes.
Everyone has notes.
But anyway, I really hope you enjoyed watching the first episode, even though I was probably really bad. Spencer was great, obviously.
No, you were fantastic.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time, wherever that may be. We'll record this as often as we can, whenever we're both available. So, thanks for watching. Adios.
Thank you for watching.